In the sprawling megalopolis of Zeta Prime, where skyscrapers pierced the clouds and neon lights flickered in the perpetual night, lived a being from a distant world, Neres. Her species, the Valorans, had striking features: iridescent skin that shimmered with every movement, eyes as vast and deep as black holes, and a demeanor that spoke of ancient wisdom. Neres, however, was an anomaly among her people. Unlike her kin, who thrived in their alien endeavors, she harbored a deep fear of integrating too closely with humans, whose planet they shared. Neres had been on Earth for over a decade, working as a cryptolinguist, deciphering ancient and modern human languages to facilitate better interspecies communication. Her work was crucial, bridging the gap between humans and the myriad of alien races that had come to Earth after the galactic alignment. Despite her contributions, she kept her interactions with humans strictly professional. The idea of deeper connections, especially breeding, filled her with inexplicable dread, until the day she was assigned to the military base at Fort Haven. Fort Haven was a joint operation base focusing on strategic defenses and fostering interspecies military alliances. It was there that Neres was to assist in translating and implementing new technologies that came from the far reaches of the galaxy. The day she arrived, her sole focus was the integration of a new communication device that could potentially change the face of galactic warfare. As she was setting up her equipment in the lab, the door hissed open, and in walked a figure that made her pause. Captain Eli Ward, a human soldier known for his heroic deeds and a formidable reputation across the stars. Eli stood tall, his posture rigid with military discipline, yet his eyes held a kindness that seemed at odds with his rugged exterior. "Specialist Neres, I presume?" Eli's voice was calm and inviting, a stark contrast to the cold, sterile lab. Neres nodded, momentarily lost in his gaze. "Yes, Captain. I'm here to set up the transcommunication sequencer." Eli smiled, glancing at the array of alien technology. "I'll admit, I'm not too savvy with this stuff. Mind if I watch you work? I could use a lesson in alien tech." Reluctantly, Neres agreed. As she explained the functionalities, she noticed Eli's genuine interest. He wasn't just passing time. He was truly engrossed in understanding, bridging the gap between human and alien technology through sheer will and curiosity. Over the following weeks, Eli visited the lab frequently, each time with the same earnest desire to learn. Neres found herself looking forward to his visits. She began to appreciate his respectful nature, his dedication to his troops, and his unwavering commitment to peace among species. Eli's presence sparked something within her, a flicker of curiosity, a desire to understand more about humans beyond the professional boundaries she had so rigidly set. One evening, as they were working late, an emergency alert echoed through the base. A system malfunction in the lower sectors was threatening to breach security protocols. Without hesitation, Eli sprang into action, but not before turning to Neres. "Come with me," he said, his voice firm yet filled with an unspoken trust. "I need your help." Surprised by her own willingness, Neres followed. They navigated through dimly lit corridors, her senses heightened, aware of every step and breath. At the malfunctioning sector, they worked together seamlessly, her knowledge of alien systems and his strategic acumen proving to be a formidable pair. As they fixed the last of the malfunctions, Eli turned to her with a relieved smile. "You know, Neres, I've worked with many, but none as brilliant as you." Flustered by the compliment, Neres looked away, her heart racing. In that moment, her fears seemed distant, trivial even, compared to the burgeoning bond she felt with Eli. As they walked back to the lab, their conversation drifted to more personal topics: dreams, fears, and hopes. Neres shared her apprehensions about humans, and Eli listened, his responses thoughtful and empathetic. For the first time, Neres considered the possibility that her fear of humans could be conquered, that perhaps, under the right circumstances, she could embrace a future she had never dared to envision. But as the lights of Zeta Prime glowed softly around them, she wondered if she could truly let go of her fears and allow herself to step into a new realm of possibilities with a human by her side. The following morning, Neres arrived at the lab with a mix of anticipation and trepidation. The events of the previous night had shifted something fundamental between her and Eli. She was early, flipping through her notes and calibrating the sequencer, when Eli walked in, his stride confident yet casual. "Morning, Nares," he greeted, a warm smile playing on his lips. "Ready for another day of groundbreaking work?" Nares nodded, a faint smile returning his enthusiasm. "Yes, today we might actually finalize the phase modulation settings." Their work progressed smoothly, with the ease of their newfound camaraderie enhancing their productivity. As they delved into the complexities of the technology, Eli's hand brushed against hers, an accidental touch that sent a jolt through her. The room felt suddenly warmer, the air charged with an unspoken acknowledgement of their burgeoning connection. Lunchtime arrived, and Eli suggested they eat outside in the compound's garden, a lush area designed to mimic Earth's more tranquil environments, a place where many species found solace away from the stark metallic interiors of the base. As they sat on a bench surrounded by blooming extraterrestrial flora, Eli shared tales of his childhood on Earth, of green fields and vast oceans. Nares listened, fascinated by his descriptions and moved by the emotions they evoked. She shared little of her own background, her home planet's vistas of floating islands and bioluminescent seas remaining locked within her. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent message on Eli's communicator. His face tensed as he read the message. An unexpected skirmish had broken out at one of the Allied bases, and reinforcements were needed. "I have to go," Eli said abruptly, the earlier ease between them replaced by the gravity of his duties. Nares felt a pang of loss as he stood to leave. "Will you be safe?" she asked, her voice tinged with concern. Eli paused, his expression softening. "I'll be fine. Just a routine operation. I'll be back before you know it." But as the days stretched into a week with no word from Eli, Nares's anxiety grew. The lab felt emptier without him, the machines and gadgets no longer holding her interest as they once had. Her mind wandered, filled with worst-case scenarios. When Eli finally returned, he was different. His usual vibrancy was dulled, and shadows lingered under his eyes. Nares noticed the slight stiffness in his movements, the way he avoided certain topics about the skirmish. Seeing him in such a state rekindled her fears, twisting her earlier curiosity into a gnawing worry. She wondered if her future interactions with humans, especially with Eli, were doomed to be shadowed by the specter of war and conflict. Their work resumed, but the easy rapport they had built seemed strained. Nares found herself watching Eli closely, trying to decipher the changes in him. One afternoon, as they aligned the communication device, Eli's facade finally cracked. "I'm sorry I've been off," he admitted, his voice strained. "Things didn't go as planned out there. Lost a good man. It's hard to shake off." Nares reached out, her hand hesitating in the air between them. She wanted to offer comfort but feared overstepping the delicate balance their relationship now held. "It's not just the war," Eli continued, his gaze meeting hers. "It's knowing that every decision I make affects so many lives. I guess I'm just trying to find the right way to handle it all." Listening to him, Nares realized that her fear of intimacy with humans was intertwined with her fear of their world's harsh realities. If she were to truly connect with Eli, she would have to embrace not only the brighter sides of human life but also its darker, more painful aspects. As they finished their work for the day, Nares made a decision. She wouldn't let her fears dictate her potential for connection. "Let's try to fix this," she suggested softly. "Together?" Eli looked at her, a flicker of his old self shining through the fatigue. "I'd like that," he said, and for the first time in days, Nares felt the weight of her worries begin to lift. In the lab, the air was thick with tension, but a newfound resolve guided Nares and Eli through their tasks. They focused on refining the communication device, aiming to stabilize the intergalactic signal that had been erratic since the recent skirmish. As they worked, their conversations delved deeper into the mechanics and the potential impacts of their technology on peace efforts. However, a sudden crisis interrupted their progress. The news came during one of their late-night sessions. An allied alien race had declared their withdrawal from the peace treaty, citing breaches and human aggression. The base buzzed with urgent meetings and frantic communications, as commanders and diplomats grappled with the deteriorating situation. Eli was called away repeatedly, drawn into strategy sessions and crisis management, leaving Neres to ponder the fragility of interstellar alliances. Alone in the lab, she accessed the galactic network, pulling up reports and analyses, trying to understand the nuances of the conflict. Her mind raced with questions about loyalty, fear, and the survival instincts of different species. It became clear that every race, including her own, held deep-seated biases and fears that could easily unravel years of diplomacy. When Eli returned to the lab, his frustration was palpable. "It's a mess out there," he confessed, slumping beside her equipment. "Every word we say, every action we take, it's like walking through a minefield." Neres considered his words, her thoughts returning to her initial fears of bonding with humans. "Is there anything in our work here that could help mitigate these issues?" she asked, her voice a blend of hope and desperation. Eli rubbed his temples, thinking, "Maybe. If we could enhance the device to not only communicate but also translate emotional tones and cultural nuances, it might foster better understanding, or at least reveal intentions more clearly." Inspired, Neres pulled up schematics of the device. "We could integrate a neural algorithm that interprets emotional inflections," she suggested, her fingers flying over the holographic display. "It could translate underlying sentiments, not just words." Eli leaned in, his earlier weariness replaced by a spark of interest. "That's brilliant. It could really change how negotiations are conducted." They worked through the night, coding and recalibrating the device. As they tested the new features, a sense of accomplishment grew. The device could now convey the emotional context of a message, coloring the words with shades of sincerity, urgency, or deceit. Days turned into weeks, and as they refined the technology, the base slowly stabilized from the diplomatic fallout. Their device, once a simple communicator, had evolved into a tool for peace, a beacon of hope in a time of uncertainty. During this period, Neres watched Eli handle the tensions and conflicts with a mix of firmness and empathy. His ability to navigate through the turmoil, to maintain focus on their shared goals, made her see him in a new light. She realized how deeply his experiences had shaped him, just as her fears had shaped her. One evening, as they reviewed data from the latest tests, Eli turned to her with a contemplative look. "You know, Neres, what we've done here, it's more than just science. It's a step towards something bigger, something better." Neres met his gaze, feeling a surge of pride and a flicker of something deeper, more personal. "I agree. It's about understanding, about finding common ground, even in the face of fear." Their eyes locked, and in that moment, the distance between them seemed to close. They were no longer just colleagues but partners in a quest to bridge worlds. Neres felt her old fears receding, replaced by a newfound trust in what they could accomplish together. The success of their enhanced communication device soon spread beyond the confines of Fort Haven, catching the attention of both human and alien leaders. A demonstration was scheduled, one that would potentially mark a pivotal moment in interstellar diplomacy. As the day approached, the base thrummed with preparations and the arrival of various dignitaries. Neres felt the weight of the occasion, her usual reserve tempered by the excitement and anxiety of showcasing their work. She and Eli spent long hours ensuring that every component functioned flawlessly, aware that the smallest glitch could undermine the fragile trust they were trying to foster. On the day of the demonstration, the lab was transformed into a command center, with representatives from different planets seated around a large circular table. The air was thick with a mix of anticipation and skepticism. Neres, standing beside Eli, initiated the device. Her voice was steady as she explained its capabilities, demonstrating how it could interpret and convey not only words but also the subtle nuances of emotional intent. The first test was a resounding success, as the device smoothly translated a speech from a Tellurian diplomat, highlighting the diplomat's genuine desire for peace, which was met with nods of approval from around the table. However, the atmosphere shifted when a skeptical ambassador from the war-torn planet of Kryn challenged the device, questioning its ability to accurately translate more complex emotions like deceit or hidden aggression. Eli responded by suggesting a real-time test involving a sensitive topic. As the discussion ensued, the device not only translated the words but also revealed a spectrum of underlying emotions, including an unexpected trace of fear from the Kryn ambassador. The room fell silent as this insight shifted the tone of the conversation, leading to a more open dialogue about the fears and concerns underlying the ambassador's aggressiveness. Amid the success, Neres noticed a subtle shift in Eli's demeanor. He seemed distracted, frequently checking his communicator. Concerned, she caught him during a brief recess. "Is everything all right?" she asked, her voice low. Eli hesitated, his eyes scanning the room before answering. "We've received intelligence that there might be a threat against this meeting. Nothing confirmed, but we're on high alert." The revelation struck Neres with a cold wave of fear. The stakes were higher than she had imagined, not just diplomatically, but in terms of physical safety. The success of their device now seemed intertwined with the looming shadow of potential sabotage. As the meeting resumed, Neres's thoughts were torn between the ongoing discussions and her concerns for their safety. Her fears were realized when, midway through a crucial negotiation, alarms blared throughout the base. The meeting was thrown into chaos as security protocols snapped into action, escorting diplomats to secure locations while Eli and Neres rushed to check the source of the alert. In the control room, they discovered it was a false alarm, triggered by a system glitch, an error that seemed too coincidental on such a critical day. Eli's face hardened as he worked with security to trace the source of the error, his previous role in crisis management coming to the forefront. This wasn't an accident, he concluded grimly, examining the data. Someone wanted to disrupt the meeting, to undermine the trust we've been building. Neres stood beside him, her mind racing. The implications were severe. If they couldn't find the culprit, the seeds of trust they had planted could wither before they had a chance to grow. Together, they returned to the lab, determined to enhance the device's capabilities further, to use it not just to build bridges but also to protect them. As they worked, Neres found herself not just a partner in innovation but in a struggle against unseen forces that sought to divide. Her resolve strengthened, not just to support Eli, but to stand with him against whatever challenges lay ahead. The pressure was mounting, and the base had transformed into a nexus of heightened security and whispered speculations. Neres and Eli, aware of the critical role their technology now played, worked tirelessly to introduce a new feature to the device: the capability to detect and analyze anomalies in communication patterns that might indicate sabotage or deceit. Their focus was unyielding as they programmed and tested the new algorithms. Each line of code was a step towards securing the diplomatic efforts, towards ensuring that the device could serve as a guardian of truth in the midst of political shadows. As they prepared for a second, more secure meeting with the delegates, Eli briefed Neres on the security measures that had been doubled around the perimeter of the base. "We can't afford another disruption," he said, his voice firm with resolve. "This device and what it represents, it's bigger than us, Neres. It's about creating a future where misunderstandings don't lead to conflicts." Neres nodded, her own determination mirrored in her actions. She fine-tuned the device, integrating a sophisticated pattern recognition system that could alert them to any inconsistencies in emotional data, suggesting possible deceit. The delegates returned, albeit with visible reservations. The air was charged with a cautious hope as Neres reinitiated the device, now more robust than ever. As the discussions resumed, the device operated seamlessly, its outputs confirming sincerity or exposing hesitations in the dialogues. The ambassadors were initially taken aback by the blunt efficacy of the technology but soon recognized its value in fostering transparent and honest communications. Midway through the session, the device flagged an anomaly, a minor but unusual spike in stress levels from one of the aides in the delegation from Kryn. Eli and Neres exchanged a quick glance before Eli discreetly informed the security team. The aide was quietly escorted out for questioning, and within the hour, the truth emerged. The aide had been coerced by a splinter faction from Kryn, intent on sabotaging the peace talks to fuel their own agenda of war and profit. The revelation was a shock to all, but the swift handling of the situation showcased the effectiveness of the technology, solidifying its importance. The crisis averted, the talks took on a new depth of engagement. The delegates, now more assured of their counterparts' honesty and the security of the process, delved into resolutions and treaties with renewed vigor. Neres watched as barriers dissolved, not just between species but within herself. Her fears, once a formidable barrier to human connections, had receded, leaving in their place a burgeoning respect and understanding for the complexities of human emotions and politics. As the summit concluded with a series of agreements and a collective commitment to ongoing dialogue, Eli turned to Nerys, his eyes reflecting the pride and relief of the moment. "We did it," he said simply, his voice carrying a weight of accomplishment. "We did," Nerys agreed, allowing herself a small smile. The success of the summit was a testament to their hard work and to the potential of their technology to change the galaxy. In the quiet aftermath, as the delegates departed and the base began to return to its routine operations, Nerys and Eli found themselves in the lab, looking at the device that had started as a simple project but had become a symbol of hope and unity. "There's still so much we can do with this," Eli mused, his thoughts already racing towards future applications. "Yes," Nerys replied, her mind alight with possibilities. "And we will. Together." Their collaboration had begun with a shared goal of enhancing communication but had grown into a deep, mutual understanding and respect. As they stood side by side, looking out at the stars from the observation deck, the vastness of space seemed a little less daunting, bridged by the promise of understanding, peace, and the endless potential of unity.